"Let's get wild and crazy," he would say at the beginning of nearly every practice. My pole vaulting coach and my teacher for a semester, Mr. McDermott, was a hilarious man. He was my pole vaulting coach for 2 years, and he kind of knew nothing about pole vaulting, so it was an interesting time. He was this short guy with like kind of a little bit of a Napoleon complex. He got so dark. Like, you would think he went tanning all the time, but it was actually just his skin color. He was really dark. He ran almost every day, so he was really in shape. He liked to run marathons, and he helped coach cross country. He was balding a little bit, and he always had this really funny smile on his face. He would crack jokes all the time, but then if something kind of set him off, he would yell at you, which ended up being pretty funny because he's just this really goofy guy in general. So I'm going to talk to you about Mr. McDermott and what a hilarious teacher he was, what an interesting pole vaulting coach he was, and how he was taken too soon by a brain aneurysm. Mr. McDermott was probably one of the funniest people I've ever met. He taught computer applications, which is a class in high school, and if you've ever taken it, it's probably one of the most boring classes of all time. He was also a business teacher, but I had him for computer apps. And basically in this class, if you know anything at all about computers, you'll be done literally within the first 20 minutes of class. So he liked to keep things interesting by just joking around, and he was funny in just this really goofy way. So I'm going to demonstrate 2 of the things that he would do all the time. There was one thing he would do, if this is the room, there would be a separate little kind of office, little cubicle that he had, and he would walk back there. So he'd be walking back to the office, and he would go downstairs, so he would just be walking and then just go down and down and down. And so then you wouldn't be able to see him, and if you didn't know that he did that, it kind of got freshmen at first who would go back there and be like, "Are there stairs that go down?" But it was just him joking around, so that was pretty funny. And he would be walking around the classroom, making sure no one was doing something stupid on his on the computers, and he'd just be walking, and he'd just bam, and he would hit his leg, but hit his leg, he would hit his hand instead of his leg. But again, if you didn't know he did that, then you would be like, "Oh my gosh, what happened? Are you okay?" So that was one of the funny things he did. And then at the end of every class, or kind of halfway through the class because everyone was done, we would watch YouTube videos. And we would watch music videos a lot, and he would take requests. Some of his favorite songs to sing along to were Justin Bieber and Mariah Carey. So it was pretty funny to see this kind of 54-year-old, short, really tan guy singing along with these songs. And if you requested anything really inappropriate, he would yell at you in the middle of class and just call you out on it. So it was pretty funny to see people get in trouble, even though you could get away with a lot around Mr. McDermott. So now that I've talked to you about how funny he was, I want to tell you about how pole vaulting kind of was with Mr. McDermott. I was a junior when he became the pole vaulting coach. Our old coach decided that coaching JV baseball was way more interesting. So we got Mr. McDermott, who was not a pole vaulting coach. He coached shot put, knew nothing about pole vaulting, and kind of was basically around at the beginning just to babysit us and make sure that we didn't file an insurance claim against the school if we got hurt. So he started trying to learn about pole vaulting, but he still didn't really know that much. There was a grade younger than me, my friend Alec. Alec and I basically ran the practices. We taught Mr. McDermott about pole vaulting. We taught him how to pole vault, what the drills were, and what we should be doing. So we would come to practice every day, and he would be like, "Hey, what do you want to do today?" And so we would be like, "All right, well, we want to do this," and it just ended up being a lot of fun. We taught the underclassmen about everything they knew about pole vaulting, and we also introduced a little bit of some fun aspects into pole vaulting days. We had days where we'd play King of the Mat, which is this game where you all get up on the mat, and if you've never seen a pole vaulting pit, their mats are really big, so because you have to pole vault over into a mat, you don't want to get hurt. But anyways, so we play King of the Mat, so you all get up on the mat, and you are running around, and you shove each other off the mat, and it's about it's this high off the ground. It's pretty high. You could probably get hurt. We had no one ever get hurt, but you shove each other until there's only one person left on the mat. And then we also introduced tanning Thursdays, which is instead of practicing, we would lay down on the mat on sunny Thursdays and tan instead of doing anything else, and Mr. McDermott loved that because he liked to be tan. So that was pretty funny. We also introduced, once a year, we had a pole vaulters picnic. So, and barbecue. It was actually a barbecue, pole vaulters barbecue. So we would all bring food, and we had like a little grill, and we would just sit there entire practice and just eat and joke around and listen to music. So even though Mr. McDermott didn't know anything about pole vaulting, he was really trying hard to learn. He would watch videos, and he was he was gonna go to a pole vaulting clinic in the year before he passed away, so he could learn more and try and help the kids out more so that they could actually learn then. So now that I've talked to you about how pole vaulting was with Mr. McDermott, I want to talk to you about how he passed away from a brain aneurysm. In early of August this year, Mr. McDermott passed away and from a brain aneurysm. He was driving when his brain aneurysm ruptured. A brain aneurysm is an abnormal bulge or ballooning in a blood vessel supplying your brain, and they can rupture, which causes internal bleeding in your brain, and in Mr. McDermott's case, that can lead to death. And that information came from Mayo Clinic. According to healthies.org, symptoms are sudden numbness or weakness in the face, confusion, trouble speaking, understanding, trouble with vision, trouble walking, dizziness, loss of balance, or sudden or severe headache. According to brainaneurysm.com, almost 1 in 15 people in the U.S. will develop a brain aneurysm in their entire lifetime. And it doesn't matter how healthy you are, it's hard to say what the causes for a brain aneurysm are. And like I said earlier, Mr. McDermott was one of the healthiest people I knew. So his death came as a shock to me, the entire high school community, his wife, and his son. It was really hard on a lot of people. In conclusion, loss is never easy, especially when it's someone close to you. Mr. McDermott was an incredible man who, even if he didn't know something, would try, and he would be there for you, and he would make you laugh if you were down, and he would help you out, no matter what the situation was. He was a funny and interesting teacher, a hilarious coach to have, and he was taken too soon by a brain aneurysm. Life is precious and beautiful and can be taken at any moment by life's random events. Even great people aren't immune to fate. I'm lucky to have known, been coached by, and been friends with Mr. McDermott for as long as I was. And I hope he's resting well in peace somewhere up in heaven.